Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Falana Gifali, and today I'm going to explore some highly interesting topic in sociolinguistic, gender exclusive speech, sociolinguistic stereotypes, and several real world case studies. So let's get started. First, let's understand gender exclusive speech. Simply put, this refers to language features, vocabulary, and grammar rules that are strictly used by only one gender, either man or women. In communities that have this, there are strict social barriers. Speaking like the opposite gender is considered unnatural or taboo. This shows us how deeply language and social identity are connected. Now let's look at two real world examples. First, in the Yanyuwa language from Australia, men and women use entirely different dialects with different noun prefixes. For instance, to say brother-in-law, a woman says Naik Alanjbi, but a man must say Ji Ranjbi. Second, in the Quasi language of Native Americans, verb endings change strictly based on the speaker's gender. A woman says lakawil for I lifted, while men say lakawis. Linguistically, Yanyuwa uses noun prefixes while Kwasati uses verb suffixes. Why are these considered gender exclusive speech? Because in both cultures, using the wrong gender form is not a simple grammar mistake. It is a violation of a social identity. There is absolutely no overlap, unlike language like English, where gender-related language is just a personal preference. So we can support this using academic theory from scholar Janet Holmes. Holmes explains that gender-exclusive speech is common in societies where gender roles are strictly separated. In these cultures, language acts as a rigid social boundary to maintain distinct male and female identities. Because of this, breaking these linguistic rules becomes a social taboo. So, now comparing Yanyuwa and Kwasiti, we see that both use language as a strict, non-negotiable marker of identity. The key difference is grammatical. Yanyuwa alters the prefixes of nouns, while Kwasiti alters the suffixes of verbs. This shows us that in these communities, you don't just speak a language, you actively speak your gender to preserve cultural heritage. And now let's move to our second topic, sociolinguistic stereotypes. A sociolinguistic stereotype is a simplified, biased belief about a person's character, intelligence, or status based entirely on how they speak. This is based on cultural prejudice, not linguistic facts. Understanding this helps us see how accent can lead to unfair discrimination in real life. We see these stereotypes very often in mass media. For instance, in Hollywood movies, characters with a southern drawl are often shown as slow-minded or uneducated. Similarly, in mainstream news media, African American Vernacular English, or AAVE, is frequently stereotyped as a bad grammar, ignoring the fact that it is a fully structured and rule-governed language variety. Linguistically, the southern drawl stereotype falsely connects to a slower speaking rate with slower thinking. The bias against AAVE comes from standard language ideology that favors mainstream dialects. Media outlets keep these negative stereotypes alive by constantly casting characters with these accents in limited roles, like comic relief or uneducated sidekicks. To back this up, we can look at Rosina Lippi Green's language subordination model. She explains how dominant groups use standard language ideologies to convince others that non-standard dialect are inferior. This creates a this creates an accent barrier in professional and academic settings where people are judged by their speech accent rather than their actual skills. Okay, now let's compare our two stereotypes example. Both the Southern Drawl and AAVE are marginalized because of standard language ideologies. However, Southern Drawl stereotypes are mostly regional and cultural, while AAVE stereotypes are deeply racialized and institutionalized. This shows how accentism is still a socially accepted form of prejudice used to maintain power dynamics in society. Okay. To understand these concepts better, let's look at some real-world case studies. I will analyze how language operates in professional, academic, and everyday situations. Let's check them out. Our first case study looks at androcentric or male-dominated language in a professional tech setting. This occurs when a manager uses masculine pronouns like he or his as the default for an unspecified programmer because tech has historically been male dominated. This habit remains. Unfortunately, this implicitly suggests that the ideal programmer is a man, making female employees feel invisible and excluded. The second case study is about linguistic density. Lecturer A uses simple, low-density language that is highly accessible. Lecturer B uses high-density language packed with complex academic vocabulary. While Lecturer B's dense language signals high academic authority, in a classroom setting, it can create a communication barrier that makes it harder for students to understand the lesson. Our third case study focuses on syntactic complexity in institutional announcement. Version A uses a student-friendly active voice. Version B uses a complex bureaucratic register full of passive sentences and formal words. Writers often use complex sentences to sound authoritative. However, in practical settings, it actually slows down students' compliance because it is confusing to read. Case study 4 highlight language styles in academic emails. In this first message, a student uses a hyper-casual style, saying, "Hey prof, what's up?" As long as possible. What's up, something like that. In the second, they shift to a formal style. "Good morning, professor." The casual email is a direct threat to politeness because it sounds like a command. Using formal style is crucial because it shows respect, builds rapport, and prompts a positive response. The fifth case studies look at the context. Consider the word sick in standard context. It means ill, but in youth slang, it means excellent or cool. If a student uses this slang during a formal presentation, it causes cognitive confusion because the formal setting expects a formal register. This shows that the environment directly determines how a message is decoded. And our sixth case study shows register variation. A doctor must use two registers, a professional medical register for clinical reports and a simple collegial register when talking to a worried family. This is called audience design. Shifting registers ensures the family fully understands the instructions, translating exclusive medical knowledge into compassionate, actionable information. Our final case study covers gender stereotypes. This happens when a manager claims women are naturally good communicators and men are natural leaders. This language disguises cultural bias as a biological fact. These stereotypes limit both genders and maintain the workplace glass ceiling. To reduce this, we must actively challenge these statements and shift to neutral terms like leadership competence. In conclusion, our case studies prove that language is never neutral. Every linguistic choice we make, from our pronouns to our professional registers, shapes and reflects our social realities. To communicate effectively in a diverse world, we must build strong sociolinguistic competence. These mean not just knowing that words to use, but deeply understanding how those words function within their specific cultural, social, and professional context. And here is a list of reference and academic literature used to support this research. Okay, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I hope this video helped you to understand about social linguistic and society interact in our daily lives. So see you guys on the next project. Bye.